Good morning from Playa Quemada. This is a finca. We're 1950 meters from the ocean, and this, believe it or not, is a wine finca owned by Bodegas El Grifo. You can probably see the grapes over there on the left. It's an experiment, this, to produce grapes that will ripen over the winter and therefore create a harvest in March or April. And Julie's come down with a lot of other people to help with the harvest of the grapes to see what it's going to be like. The grape used here is the standard Lanzarote one, Malvasia volcanica. And the idea is that because we're in this kind of microclimate down here, close to the ocean, we should be able to harvest these grapes in March or April. Now, Lanzarote already has the earliest harvest in the Northern Hemisphere, normally July or August. They're going to harvest these today and make some wine from them over the next few weeks and see what it's going to be like. So while she's grape picking, I'm going to head down into Playa Quemada where I have a meeting, but I'll do some filming down there for you. It's pretty early in the morning, a couple of nasty looking black clouds around, but as you can see, also some decent blue sky as well. So let's head down into Playa Quemada and talk about that. I've driven that 2 kilometers down the road now, and below us is Playa Quemada. And in the distance in the bay there, you can see the fish farm where they farm sea bream, and in the distance you can see the white sandy beaches of Fuerteventura. And I just thought before we go into the village, I'll talk you through Lanzarote's fishing villages, and Playa Quemada is one of them, and their kind of history. So if you go back pre-1960s, there were a number of these fishing villages on the island. There was this one, Orsala, Punta Mujeres, El Golfo, La Santa, can't think of any others, but I'm sure there are others. And they were genuine fishing villages. So the people who lived in them also worked in them. They went out to sea every day, caught their fish. Before refrigeration, they would put them in palm woven baskets with salt to preserve them, and then they'd go off on camels around the island where they'd be traded or sold. When refrigeration came along, of course, that fish was then picked up in refrigerated lorries and sold on around the island. Now, what happened in the 1960s is that the fishing fleet here became very much more commercial. And by the 1970s, Lanzarote had one of the biggest fishing fleets in the world, all based out of Arrecife. So these small fishermen with their small boats, a lot of them moved to Arrecife and joined the larger boats that would go out for days at a time there. And then, of course, tourism arrived. And when tourism arrived, a lot of the people from these villages then moved into tourist jobs rather than fishing-based jobs. And a lot of the villages became very quiet. The properties were empty for a period until they were discovered by the people of Arrecife and San Bartolomé and Playa Honda, people who work, in the proper towns, if you like, lawyers, people who work in the banks, shops, notaries, and so on. And many of them bought houses in these small villages, and they used them as weekend homes and as summer homes. So what you'll find is that these villages tend to be, we lived in Punta Mujeres for nearly 5 years, very quiet during the week. They get much busier at the weekend, and then all the family come over and spend the whole summer here with mum or dad or whoever the main breadwinner is, commuting into town during the week and coming back at the weekend to spend the time with the family. What happened then is that restaurants sprung up in all of them in order to feed the people who were coming in, but they also just became a really cool place for Sunday lunch, and Sunday lunch is really important in Lanzarote. And in all of these villages, this one included, you can go on a Sunday lunchtime as long as you've booked a table and enjoy an epic fresh fish lunch with all the other local people who tend to go there on the weekend as well. So we're going to get out this breeze, which I have no doubt you can hear on the microphone, and just have a little look around the village on a quiet Wednesday morning. There's Cat Lanza in the distance sailing around to Papagayo on their morning sailing. And Playa Quemada is one of the few places on the island which actually has black sand beaches. And there are a couple of them, one of which is a naturist beach. There's a Restaurante Playa Quemada. That's open, people having coffee and tapas already. And there's another one a bit further down. This is Restaurante Sal Marina, which is probably our favourite in this particular town. Like the one before it, they have tables and chairs sort of right on the ocean front there. I have to say the weather's nicer in the north of the island at the moment than it is down here. Quite a lot of cloud about, as you can see. And that breeze isn't warm. It's probably 23 at the moment. But when we left home, it was bathed in sunshine. So this section of the coast is rocky, but as you walk around, you can see there's one sort of stony beach, then there's a lovely black sand beach, and beyond that another black sand beach, which is where the secret garden is. And if you just Google secret garden Lanzarote, you'll get our article and photos showing you what that is. There's really only two streets in Playa Quemada, and the houses all look very similar. We're on the front street and I'll walk up the back street in a moment. This one is Restaurante Siete Islas. We come to this one quite often. They're not on the front line, so my impression is they have to work harder, and the service is excellent in there. Behind the village is a goat farm. They produce some fantastic cheeses. Look out for Playa Quemada cheese on the markets of the island and in the shops. There's one of the typical fishing boats. Buenas. Getting repaired for the summer. You can see how small they are, and there are still a few of them around. So they've got the generator running and they're cleaning it up ready. I think they're mainly used as hobby boats now, or perhaps for catching fish for their own use rather than on a commercial basis. There's another one in front of us called Cabo de Hornos. And typically of these fishing villages, it was the same when we lived in Punta Mujeres. There are as many small boats parked in the car parks as there are cars. Lots of birds around here, you can probably hear them whistling. It's like a speedboat under the cover there. And another dinghy across the way. So that completes our little tour of Playa Quemada. We've come around in a full circle now. I just wanted to talk very briefly about the fish farm out there. So they farm sea bream. The contract the company had, which was for 10 years, actually ended a few months ago. And there's a bit of a dispute going on now. They're looking for an extension. The local ayuntamiento doesn't want them to have it because they say the fish poo, for want of a better phrase, is affecting the marine environment around here, so they'd like them moved. So the discussions that are going on at the moment are whether the contract will be renewed, whether they'll just be told to go away, or finally whether they'll be asked to move those big fish farm pools to another part of the island, and people are talking about Arrecife. So I hope you've enjoyed that from Playa Quemada. Have a great weekend, and bye for now.